Thanks for joining us on SUTV News. I'm Bailey Cassada.
And I'm Jordan Hanley.
The IUP Crimson Hawks are your PSAC champions.
He will take these 29 electoral votes.
This is an SUTV News special, A View of 2020. Good evening and welcome to an SUTV News special, A View of 2020. I'm Jacob Hitz. Tonight we're going to be looking back at the news we covered in and around Shippensburg University. From covering events on campus to taking a closer look at how students and faculty are kept safe during the pandemic, SUTV's Bailey Cassada gives us a look back.
One of the first stories that SUTV covered in the spring was the Martin Luther King Jr. March for Humanity, with an event held in Old Main Chapel and featuring guest speaker Keisha Hanum. SUTV's Carmine Chicatano gave us the story.
Shippensburg University welcomed guest speaker Keisha Hanum earlier today for the 33rd Annual March for Humanity. Hanum, a journalist and the co-founder of the women's movement Camel Assembly, spoke before the march about empathy and how similar we truly are to one another.
To me, is about us remembering how much we have in common, and that it's very easy to look at our differences, but when we remember that we are human and we use empathy to connect, we will have far deeper, more meaningful connections.
Students also spoke about what the march means to them and their own personal experiences. The event is designed to celebrate the life and work of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and his dedication to civil rights. The march concluded with students marching from Old Main to the Cub to remember Dr. King and his legacy. For SUTV News, I'm Carmine Chicatano.
Over the spring break in March, the Shippensburg Jazz and Wind Ensembles traveled to California for their annual tour. The groups, both directed by Trevor Famulari, performed at numerous venues during the trip, including Disneyland and Westlake High School. During their performance at Westlake High School, they were giving a masterclass by composer Sean O'Loughlin and performed his new piece entitled Moonlit Skies. When students were not performing, they were given the opportunity to sightsee and experience California. After they returned home, that's when Shippensburg and the U.S. became seriously affected by the coronavirus.
1, 2,
1, 2, 3, 4.
While the coronavirus caused schools to close down, including Shippensburg University, that did not stop the band from cheering people up. The Shippensburg University Red Raider Marching Band took the web to perform the university's touchdown song, The Horse, in April. The video, which has 5.3 thousand views on YouTube, has boosted the morale of numerous people throughout the pandemic. The band has been planning for a comeback in the fall of 2021 and have met together throughout the semester to practice and keep the music going throughout campus. But the SUMB weren't the only music group virtually performing. The SU Concert Choir dedicated their virtual performance of the alma mater to the class of 2020.
Proudly stands our alma mater on a hilltop high. Swell the chorus ever louder, we'll be true to you. Hail to thee, our alma mater, dear old red and blue.
When the pandemic hit, schools across the country closed. Once summer hit, universities faced the option of bringing students back for the fall semester. In July, Shippensburg announced its plans to return students to campus, providing options for students to either learn in the classroom or from home. Masks were required in all public areas, hand washing stations popped up around campus, temperature checking stations gave students an opportunity to check on their own health. Desks and classrooms were spread apart with plexiglass at the front of the room for the professor to teach behind. A camera at the front of the room gave students learning remotely a peek into the classroom. As August was beginning, so was the next chapter for the 989 seniors of the class of 2020. A drive-in commencement ceremony was held outside the Shippensburg University Recreation Center on the 1st of August. Families and friends could safely watch the grads receive their diplomas from their cars. With masks, social distancing, and elbow bumps, the graduation was certainly a unique one. A few days later, a partnership with Wellspan Health was announced. According to Ship Now, Wellspan has a network of resources and expertise in wellness programming, such as nutrition, physical fitness, and disease prevention. They offered COVID-19 testing when students returned in the fall. 2020 was an important year for the Black Lives Matter movement, and Shippensburg University had numerous events to show its support for inclusiveness. The Shippensburg Athletic Department announced the OneSHIP initiative. According to the official Raider Athletic Department website, the initiative goal is upholding the values of equity, justice, and inclusion by creating and sustaining an anti-biased and anti-racist environment in athletics and its broader communities. SHIP students gathered in the hockey rink for the ACT Call to Solidarity rally, which was in response to a racial slur incident on campus, according to the Slate. The ACT committee teamed up with the Multicultural Student Affairs for a quilt to cover us all. According to the Slate, the quilt was made from fabrics from different organizations on campus, symbolizing unity and inclusiveness. September marked the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. To celebrate, the Fashion Archives and Museum displayed an exhibit of suffragist clothing. Also in September, Shippensburg University continued the climb on the U.S. News & World Report's Best Colleges ranking, moving up 12 spots to the 88th on the top colleges list in the northern region. The university also climbed to 25th on the top public colleges list in the northern region. President Lori Carter commented after the rankings were released, stating, quote, "It is a testament to the dedication of our faculty and staff that our university is recognized with this monumentous climb in the U.S. News ranking model," end quote. November was an eventful month here at Shippensburg University, starting with the historic 2020 presidential election. SUTV broadcasted live election coverage on November 3rd, and we spoke with Shippensburg students and faculty about the race. We also talked about Ship Votes, which is an organization dedicated to registering students to vote and let their voices be heard. It also offered students rides to the polls on Election Day. Also in November, 2 students made SU homecoming history. For the first time ever, 2 queens were crowned homecoming royalty. Eliza Rezatar and Kwamia Wells raised the most money for King's Kettle Food Pantry. While the crowning ceremony looked much different this year, without the packed stadium, the homecoming spirit was still there with games and other activities. The homecoming court raised a grand total of $16,415 for the local food pantry. Students got a first look at renderings of the renovations that will be made to the old steam plant, turning it into the new home for the School of Engineering. The plans were announced in 2018 and construction began in January of 2020. SHIP is the only state university to offer engineering degrees in 4 different focuses: civil, mechanical, electrical, and computer. According to a press release from contractor Crabtree, Rohrbaugh & Associates, first-floor lab spaces will host a civil engineering lab, fabrication lab, manufacturing lab, and welding area, while the second floor will include labs for machine dynamics and vibrations, thermal science, and much more. Renovations on the old steam plant are intended to be completed in time for the spring 2021 semester. And finally, in December, the fall semester came to an end. With final exams held online, the year has come to a close. A video titled "We Did It, Ship" was posted on Shippensburg University's Facebook to celebrate the accomplishment of completing this trying year. And that concludes the first episode of SUTV's A View of 2020. I'm Bailey Cassada, and thanks for joining me.
And that's our broadcast for tonight. Join us tomorrow when we take a look at the news that encompass the nation and the world. From all of us at SUTV News, I'm Jacob Hitz. Thanks and good night.